So, Elizabeth, let's start with you. You were 28 years old when you were diagnosed, which is the same age as that I was diagnosed, and clearly still think that I am. And you are a sign language interpreter. And I'm so struck by how you decided to go to the doctor. You said you were on stage interpreting at a breast cancer event and realized you had to go and get something checked. Tell me more about that.
I had found my lump in the shower about 2 weeks before that job opportunity. And I was volunteering just to give back to the community and listening to people talk about early diagnosis and preventing further issues. I said, well, I can't ignore this anymore.
Right.
And called my doctor the very next morning and said, I need to get something checked. And I had to battle them for a while because they kept telling me I'm too young, that it's probably just a cyst, because my sister had just had a cyst and had that removed. And I said, I want a biopsy. And I had to argue for the mammogram first. And when they finally sent me for that, and then it came back that you might want to get that biopsied, they still continued to argue with me. And I said, well, when I'm dead and gone, I'll make sure my husband gets the money from the lawsuit. I said, I know something is not right. And she said, well, if you really want to make sure and you feel that strong, I'll approve it. And she was the same doctor that had to call me 13 days later and say, I'm sorry. Called me on a Saturday at 5 o'clock when I was alone and said I was wrong.
Wow.
Yeah. Only 28 years old. There's no history of it in either side of my family, and being only 28, I don't think people think you can get it at that age. That really is very young, but more and more women are coming out saying, we're only in our 20s when we got this. It does happen.
And how old are you now?
33.
Okay, well, so congratulations. Help me do my math. Are you 5 or 6 years out now?
I'm going on, this fall will be 5 years being diagnosed.
Well, and you're in remission, so congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's amazing. I mean, for someone like me who is 29 and diagnosed also at 28, it's sort of hard to even picture 5 years. And you live in a strange world of worry, so it's really promising to meet somebody who's 33 and been there and to see where you are now.
It's really hard to think that it's been 5 years, because it seems like just yesterday that I was at that breaking point where I can't go anymore. This treatment is too hard. I can't do it anymore. And to think it's been 5 years, it is unreal. They can tell you you're cancer-free, but cancer is mental.
Absolutely.
Cancer is always out there.
What treatment you had?
I had 8 weeks of chemotherapy first. I was very sick. And then when that was done, I had the double mastectomy. And then I had 30 rounds of radiation. More as a preventative. The radiologist felt I didn't exactly need it, but she consulted with colleagues around the country, and they suggested that just as an added oomph to go ahead with the radiation, so I did.
And were you diagnosed with triple negative? Okay.
Yeah, they were surprised, because when I first went in for my first visit with the oncologist, he said my estrogen levels were through the roof, one of the highest levels he'd ever seen. So when it came back that it was triple negative, he was quite surprised. And even still, he doesn't treat me with any type of hormones and doesn't recommend any kind of hormone therapy, because he just has this gut instinct that even though I had triple negative, I would still have problems.
And did you do the genetic testing as well? And
I am BRCA2 positive.
You are, okay. I mean, it's really interesting. Everyone's, which we'll kind of get to everyone else's story. I guess I didn't really say much about my story, but I also was 28 when I was diagnosed. there is history in my family, but not anything prevalent that anyone felt any need to be overly concerned with. Both my grandmothers died of breast cancer, but they were in their 80s, and it was just a different time. And I was HER2 positive breast cancer. I thought for sure it was going to be triple negative. That just when you start to do the research, you just can go, your mind goes a million places. And I actually tested negative for the gene. Oddly enough, all of the males on my father's side of the family have prostate cancer too, which is kind of phenomenal when you think of the link between BRCA and males kind of present it with prostate cancer. But you just never know. I have no idea why I got it at 28 with no genetic supposed link. But now they're saying that only a small portion of cancers are genetically linked. So it's just kind of, I guess, the way that the world works and the way the cookie crumbles. And so after you did the mastectomy, how long after your treatments? Or during them? Or when? Or before?
I finished chemo on Valentine's Day, and it wasn't exactly a month later that I had the mastectomy.
Oh,
and
wow.
That was March 11th, and then I started radiation in June, through the whole month of June.
And how do you feel now 5 years out?
I have my good and my bad days. More good than anything. I mean, I'm left with some pretty significant lymphedema in my left arm because I had lymph nodes taken out. That was the side where the cancer was, and it had spread to the lymph nodes.
How many did they take out?
I want to say I can't remember the number, but I want to say 16.
Oh, wow.
It was a significant number, and it's left me with quite a problem. I mean, I'm fine on most days until somebody says, "Do you know your arm is swelling?" Well, I don't.
I'm aware. Thanks.
Thanks. Are you okay? No, really, I am okay. It'll go down once the heat goes down. I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's just a constant reminder.
Well, I mean, it probably always will be. So I think it's really good to be in a setting like this where you're meeting other people and being able to talk about it, because I feel like I talk about it with people all day who have no concept of what it's like. So, and that helps me, but I can't imagine how much more helpful it would be to talk to people who have gone through it in a different scenario. I mean, everybody's stories are different, right? And then you meet people who, have had a much worse experience than maybe I did or maybe you did, and then you almost feel bad, like, oh gosh, I don't want to complain, or I don't want to say anything because my experience was this way. And what I've taken in the last year is that it doesn't matter. Like, if you've experienced it in whatever capacity you have, then you're part of this group of people that can empathize with you and be there for you and support each other. So it's totally normal to have good days and bad days. And especially, I almost think that when you go a couple years out, it probably gets more difficult because it's really this thing of the past that you're trying to move on from, and you don't want to be that person anymore. But you can't forget about it, because then it'll creep up on you when you least expect it. It always has to kind of be a constant thing in your mind.
Mm-hmm.